proudest day, the proudest time in the seat of a rally car, because that day and that hour and those minutes, I got the bit between my teeth. You know, I really stood up and was counted and said, this is not getting away. I remember when we pulled on our helmets and Donald says to me, what are we doing? I said, we're going for gold, Barrett. That's all we said. I can still picture that run. That was just the best run ever.
Welcome to Krunching Gears, the Rally podcast, and we're really rattling into the 2025 season now, and we're almost at Easter, so it's Easter Circuit of Ireland time, so later on in this episode we'll preview that event. We'll also review is round 2 of the BRC, and I caught up with Creighton and Mikie Galvin from that, and then I also caught up with Joe Kelly and James McBrearty, who won the Rally 4 category at the weekend there as well too. It was absolutely fantastic. Also last weekend was the Manx Rally, and great to see guests from last week, Gary and Rory, doing so well and taking the one over there 2 in a row now. No pressure going into the circuit for those two guys there. And then as well then to the latest round of the Irish Forestry, and great to see Pat Connell taking the one down there too as well, and Gary's old car too. So lots of interesting news and all going on, but as you can see, I'm on my own this week, so under a bit of time pressures and one thing and another, so maybe didn't want to get to speak to everybody we wanted to get speaking to, but you know, this is the joys of how busy the sport is at the moment. So Circuit Ireland this weekend, 2 days, 2 stages on Friday and then 9 more on the Saturday. Doesn't sound like much, but I'll say by the end of it you'll know you've had a big rally, you know, too, so that'll be really exciting. That's round 2 of the Tarmac Championship, and stellar lineup, really is strong lineup there, so yeah, that's going to be really good. But we're going to talk more about that with Graeme Stewart after a wee while. But before that, round 2 of the BRC, the Carlisle Stages last weekend. You know, what can we say? It was just unreal. It seemed to be, the pace was hectic, you know, it really was. We've seen the stage end interviews with Matt Cotton and Bex, and the drivers are just, there are tenths of seconds between Wool and Roman, the new guy to the championship this year, and the rest of them only a few seconds behind, but just over the 5 stages of the day, just unbelievable the pace, and great to see Wall taking the second place, and that gives him a good lead now in the championship. I know it's only after 2 rounds, but you have to be there, you know. So, and then in the junior category, then Joe Kelly, he's been knocking at the door now for a couple of years, and to see it all come together there on Saturday, himself and James McBrearty in the 208 Rally 4. Fantastic result, really was, you know, too. And an Irish look out of the podium once again in the Rally 4 category, brilliant. And then also the historic category, then another one there too for David Crossan and Ben Taggart, so absolutely top job there. So anyway, let's hear from Creighton and Mikie Galvin first of all, and then that will roll into Joe Kelly and James McBrearty. So round 2 of the BRC was last weekend, and we're catching up now with Will and Mikie. Will, it was a tough day, 5 stages, but 5 hard, tough stages.
Yeah, it was a good day. Stages in Kielder are quite tricky, so fast, but also, you know, it's quite narrow, and there's quite a deep ditch either side of the road. So then a lot of corners, blind corners over crests that, tighten, and with it being so fast, it's important to carry as much speed as you can. And there's a fine limit in Kielder, I think, between pushing the right amount and then pushing too hard, because the punishment can be quite big if you find one of those ditches. So thankfully we didn't at the weekend, and we had a fairly clean event. One small mistake on the 4th stage, but all in all, it was very enjoyable.
Yeah, and Mikie, we often hear about Killer Kielder, and it has that fearsome reputation. Like, an event you enjoyed, it's been a few times you've been up there now.
Yeah, we haven't been there, I think, since 2018. I think we only did one round of the BRC that year in a Hyundai, but we were there in 17 at least once. maybe even twice. But no, we enjoyed the weekend quite a bit, actually. It was very good. A lot of dust was one of the problems we had, but it was okay, you know. Halfway through the day, the wind kind of picked up, so it cleared it a bit better. But actually, one of the best days we've had in gravel for a while. The result mightn't just reflect that exactly, but it was a very, very good day. Everything in the car felt good. Not our first time in gravel, second time in gravel in the car, but we enjoyed it because we kind of haven't been enjoying gravel as much as we would have one time the last couple of years. But it was a good day, we enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, and like your driver said to Matt Cotton, he wasn't taking any big chances. I think you were having a quiet giggle to yourself when he said that.
I know, yeah. No, you know, the risks are big, but maybe we weren't just taking the risks that Will and Liam were. But we'll try and build up the pace a bit more. There might be a couple of things we're just missing at the moment to try and punch in the times like the guys. But we'll get there, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and well, this new guy, like, you know, the guy that followed in your footsteps in the JWRC, there's some performance there for his his third rally now in a Rally 2 Fiesta.
Yeah, really impressive, and you know, going to be a force to be reckoned with now. So, he did a great job, Roman. I think, you know, coming from Estonia, sort of fast gravel roads is maybe his thing, and you know, he went a lot better at the weekend there compared to the first round on tarmac, which maybe wasn't as familiar to him. So, it was very impressive to put up the result that he did, and we were definitely having to work hard to try and compete against him.
Yeah, and was that your first time running first in the road as well then at the weekend?
Yeah, that was our first time having number one in the door, so that was pretty cool. Obviously, we had the bit of a, you know, it's quite difficult running first with the sort of stages that we were going into. There was a bit of cleaning. So we were in quite a comfortable rhythm, to be fair, for most of the day, but just with that road condition, you know, you can have the odd moment here and there, and the car is always floating, so it's quite a nice sensation in one sense, but then it's also, you know, you just feel like you're not being as efficient as you could be, and you just don't have that ultimate grip level until the road clears. And we did, I think there was one stage, the final stage of the day was a repeat. So it was nice to have, you know, a nice clean track there that we could follow. And whenever you have a wee bit more grip, it's you get the full sensation of Kielder and carrying just that wee bit more speed, and it's really good and really enjoyable.
Yeah, and the both of you, you know, you're in new machinery this year, and well, we've seen, you know, from your social media, you know, like Motorsport Ireland and Melvin Evans and yourselves have put in a big push in this year, a lot of testing and all, but I suppose you can do all the testing in the world, but until the clock's ticking, you're never quite sure where you're at.
Yeah, I said that before the rally. You know, we had a test and it felt really good, but you know, there's one thing at feeling good and then it also being fast. So it's always good to do a stage and see whereabouts where you are compared to the other guys. And you know, we were there on the money from the first stage, which is always nice. I've been watching some of the onboards back, and for sure there's things that I can do better. You know, to get the full potential out of the car, and you know, just adapt to, you know, new machinery, first time really on gravel in it. And as you say, it's a different story whenever you do an actual stage in the car. But you know, all in all, we got comfortable quite quickly, and you know, it was thanks to the academy and Melvin Evans having the car ready that we could do testing before the event, and we were prepared pretty well.
Yeah, and it probably shows, you know, like how competitive all these, you know, Rally 2 cars are. There's so little difference in them that you can, you know, you stepped out of the Fiesta last year and the way you've adapted it into, and like there's probably not huge differences, wee subtle differences. Some things better, some things maybe not just as good.
Yeah, it's fine margins, and you know, even if there are differences in the cars, you have to be able to take the most out of each car to find those differences and take advantage of them. And yeah, maybe a lot of it is also down to driver preference, their type of driving style. So, you know, we've seen for years that the Fiesta is, you know, a really popular car in Ireland. The chassis seems to work really well over the bumps, and especially when it gets muddy and tricky. And yeah, so each one has its, you know, positives and negatives, and you just got to try and get the most out of whatever you have.
And Mike, I suppose sort of a similar question to yourself. Changing machinery this year, you've sampled it now both on tar and on gravel. It is just fine margins and driver preference really at this stage.
Yeah, the cars are quite similar. To be fair, people ask about the cars all the time. It's harder for me. I'll say to find the differences in the car. They're all amazing. The cars. The Fiesta we adapted quite well on tarmac. It was a fantastic tarmac car last year for us. Didn't go just as well on the gravel, but the Citroen coming to West Cork, we just ran into a few issues on the last day of it. They were trying to figure out now, going into this weekend. The car works great on gravel. It's quite a powerful car. So hopefully the car will be a bit better for the Circuit of Ireland in comparison to what it was in West Cork. It worked well on the Friday and a bit of Saturday, and then we just started to creep in a few issues. We made changes, and it kind of hindered us. Then into Sunday is where the issues really exposed themselves, and it kind of almost cost us the rally in one way, but it ended up in our favour after. But that's hearsay. But yeah, no, the car is good, but all the cars I think are just as good now.
Because it's that fine line between being inch perfect and an inch too wide, and it can be all over.
Sorry, I lost you there. You completely broke up there for that.
Sorry. The way rallying has got, we've mentioned this before, is the difference between being inch perfect and that inch over the line, and it just can make such a huge difference.
Oh no, sure. Even last year I said it many a time. The level has gone incredibly. The margins are so fine now; they're almost nothing, which makes it harder. So you're always trying to find that something, and I think the speed out in the stages is at a place where, with the technology that we have now, I can't see it going further than what it is. It's just mind blowing. So now there's that bit more work going on the videos before, studying the stages and stuff, and it's a heavy workload. And that gets harder when there's rallies then with more and more stages. I mean, like West Cork was a big workload. We did the rally in 24 and we came back in 25. It was nearly a different rally. And, there was 9 different locations to recce. And, when you multiply up the runs with the runs on the video, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. But, it's that work that'll separate the men from the boys.
Yeah, I can think, that has become such a huge part of rallying now. It's not even just the recce when you're driving the stages. At that moment in time, it's the notes afterwards, it's the DVD work, it's the long pull up to the event and even during the event as well now.
Yeah. No, as you said, it's not easy for, when it's not your job, and, essentially it's a hobby. Obviously, we're working on quite a high level for it to be a hobby, but you have to commit to it for that week that you're there, or the week previous. Might not be for everyone, but the work does pay off, because for sure when you've done a good recce and a good video work, when you get to the stage, it does make it that bit easier, and we always try to put in the most when we get to an event. Keith always wants to work on the event when we're there, no matter where we are in the world. He's like, we're here to work, and we're gonna make use of every single second, which isn't the easiest thing, after traveling the whole way to Scotland from Cork, but that's just the level that it's at now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I suppose same to yourself. Like you want to do this as professionally as possible, but you have work to go to on the Monday morning. Liam the same, but when you're there, it has to be full focus.
Yeah, like Mikie said, the amount of work you can do before the rally now. Even on the BRC events, you can get the onboards from previous years, previous stages, and you have, even though you haven't done the recce yet, you have quite a good understanding of the stage before you even get there, and then you do it twice in the recce car, and then you do another run over another 1 or 2 runs on the video. So before you've even got to the stage in the rally car, I'm sure you can, well, I can anyway, memorize quite a bit of it. And it's not that you're trying to drive to memory or anything like that, but you do need to have a good understanding of the stages and the characteristics of what you're getting into, and then really focus in on the pace notes, and they need to be so accurate. And yeah, like Kielder, a lot of it looks the same, so it does. So it's important to have really, really accurate pace notes, and especially going in like this weekend, we had basically all the stages were new. There was only one that was was repeated during the day. So each time you were going in, you were having to drive flat out and be, really rely on your pace notes. You didn't have that buffer where you were going in for a second pass and you had sort of maybe somewhere where you were a bit cautious. You knew you could take a wee bit more out of it. You were trying to get the most out of each stage each time. So, and like I said at the start, Kielder, it's very fast and still quite narrow. And if you get off the line at all onto the marbles, you can, very easily run wide. It's not like, those Severn Valley stages where if you run off a wee bit, you've got a grassy bank or a bit of room. You have no margin for error in Kielder, and I guess that's what makes it such a challenge.
Mm-hmm. And being only 5 stages, you think 5 stages, actually that's a handy enough wee day. But from its 12 and 13 mile stages, like that's relentless, and it was kind of more or less rolling off one stage into the next. There wasn't a lot of gaps either. Yeah,
like stage 2 in particular, I think it was the guts of 20 kilometers, and the last couple of miles of it, when you'd just done a lot. The last few miles were proper technical, quite narrow, quite a lot of freshly graded gravel. So you lose a little bit of precision when you get onto that sort of gravel. And after doing 7 or 8 miles, everything's warm. And when you lose that lack of grip at that point in the stage, you can very easily have a moment and just let things run away. So that was a real tester, and like for all of us to come out of that stage and only a handful of seconds be between everybody is pretty cool, and it shows how much everybody's pushing. But yeah, for me that one was probably one of my favourite stages of the day, just because it was so narrow, so fast, and so busy. So it was a proper workout for both driver and the co-driver.
And Mikie, that stage, like you're feeling that through the seat of your pants. Do you feel that surface change? Or do you think do you start to feel there's something wrong with the car because of the surface change, or is that kind of in your head from the recce?
On the gravel, there's so many different sensations. You have that smooth, fast gravel, and you have that really chunky gravel. So you can kind of hear. Obviously, you can feel, but you can hear the banging of the stones off the bottom of the car, which can be unnerving at times when it comes up quick, because I'm not always looking at the road, so I'm calling ahead all the time, and then it might be nice and silent, and then you hear this big smash and crunch of stones, and you do feel the car moving, and you're kind of going, I hope this thing is still on the road, because there's so much going on in the car. You know what I mean? You're jumping, you're compressing, you're moving. Sometimes you don't even know whether you're on the road or not, because even if you are going off the road, the driver's usually going to stick with it as long as they can anyway. So it's just a trust thing. You have to keep the head down and just be calm, because sometimes, honestly, in West Cork and places, I hadn't felt that speed for a few months, and there was places I was going, wow, this is insane. But you have to just take that breath and just sit into it and enjoy it, because there's no point being tense or nervy, because you still have to do the same job, so you might as well do it nice and calmly as you can anyway.
And even being out of the car for that few months, does it take you like a stage almost to get back into that mindset again of this is coming up?
It wasn't even that we were out of the car, because we had done the first round of the BRC East Ridings, but I was saying this to the guys at the weekend, it was just so different. The speed, East Ridings didn't have that outright blistering speed, because it was so slippy, and first stage of West Cork was like you just have that grip of Irish tar that I'm always talking about. It's different to anywhere else in the world as far as I'm concerned. And literally the first 2K in West Cork was like, wow, Jesus, we're back here, but no, going back to the gravel, it's a completely different sensation. But the cars are so special on that kind of a surface. You're saying, how is this thing putting up with the abuse first, and how is this thing on the road at the speed on loose? They're special machines.
Yeah, and as a driver, you have to put all that out your head. You can't be thinking, how's the car putting up with this? You have to try and extract the most out of it.
Whenever you don't own it, that's usually to get it out of you. Yeah, the cars are so impressive. Like even watching videos from the weekend there, outboard shots that people have taken and put online, it looks crazy from the outside, and how the cars can do what they do is, you do question it, but inside it doesn't feel like that at all. It feels a lot more sensible, maybe, is the best way to put it. The amount of control that you have at high speed on those different surfaces, especially when the car's, sliding at all types of angles. It's really, really impressive. And I guess it's down to probably mostly, the technology and the dampers that, has come on a long way over the last few years. So it's, they're a joy to drive.
Yeah, because you even look back at even the late the 2-litre WRC cars, and they almost look big and unwieldy now compared to these cars now, and the way they can just change direction now is it blows your mind, just especially on gravel.
Yeah, like even on the recce, there were some places where I was putting in, there's some compressions on fifth gear flat out stuff, and I was expecting the car to react a lot more whenever we hit it at over 100 mile an hour, and they just don't flinch at all. So even trying to get that into your head on the recce is a skill in its own, and understanding how the car is going to react, because when you hit something in a recce car, it's a different sensation when you hit it in the rally car, and you're trying to gauge the speed difference from the recce to the rally as well. So that's a skill in its own, and it did surprise me. There's a couple of bumps and jumps from the weekend there that I was thinking, after the recce, just how's the car going to take this? How's it going to handle? And it just doesn't blink.
Yeah.
To be fair, it's actually very even this year. We have identical recce cars and everything.
But Mikie, driving the stage at 30, 40 mile an hour and then coming down at 100, 100 plus, how do you even comprehend how a car is going to react?
Well, as a driver, anyway, first of all, it's incredible what you're doing. Be able to make the notes, because look, I'm not making the notes. You know what I mean? I'm writing down what he's telling me to write down. But there's an art to that, because it can actually be quite dangerous. And I think that's why a lot of people who rally will say at lower levels are terrified to make their own notes, because they don't trust themselves. And I can completely understand why, because we'll say the likes of a jump. We've seen big accidents over jumps. Cars launching 10 feet into the air and having big accidents. You're saying, how did that happen? Probably because they didn't make the note right. You know what I mean? And all it takes is one of those, to have a monster accident. So you have to be very, very sure of yourself. The corner angles, obviously, the distances, you have to know exactly what you're doing. You just can't get those distances wrong, because all of us there, we're competing at 100%, 99, 100% all the time. So there's nothing left. I probably said that 1,000 times before. I'm like a revolving door, but there's most of the time there's nothing left. So if you just overcook it that bit too much, you're off the road. Where for some people that are operating at 60, 70, they have that 30 or 40 all the time, where we have very, very little left. If there's one, it's like having, gravel crews. And if there is that bit of mud or gravel, that's the difference between us. It was like us in Cardiggian. We had a big accident in Cardiggian. There was just that bit too much mud on the road from when the gravel crews went through. There was a little bit more, and we had a monster accident because of it. That's the level that we're operating at now. There's no space.
Yeah, because 1%, and that's it.
Yeah, and like I said, in Kielder, you really don't want to find that. You don't want to go over that 1%. It's I found it probably on the last stage, where you have that repeat, you can take that last wee bit where you maybe have a wee bit of room on the exit of a corner, or you can take that wee bit more speed on the second pass, but that's very difficult to do on the first pass, and that's the art of rallying. If you can be fastest on the first pass, that tells a lot, and that's what we're aiming for.
And the rallies are so short too,
Yeah. With such a short day, if you lose, Mikie, you stop for 30 seconds in one of the stages, it was game over as far as the one was going.
Yeah, we were talking about carrying spares at the weekend and stuff, an extra spare maybe, or whatever, but we were like, if we get a puncture, we're screwed anyway. I know what I mean? I know that sounds awfully grim, but if we get a puncture on the stage at that rally at the weekend and stop to change it, you know what I mean? You're so far back.
Yeah.
you know, obviously different for a longer rally, but a short rally, all those BRCs now are, you know, gone quite short, so they are a sprint. And if you don't get it right the first time, there's no sure, like, you know, there was only one stage with a second pass at the weekend, so you had to nail the first four of them the first time. There's no well, you have a look the second time. There is no second time. And even if there is, that's not enough. It's gone. Rally over pretty much already.
And you know, going into the last stage, it was still an opportunity, like, and it was a big ask to try and get back on the podium. Does there be, you know, is there? You talk about, you know, 99, 100%. Is that 101% then, or is it, you know, is there still that small margin of error there?
Well, to be fair, on the last stage of the rally, we didn't think that we were actually going to take back as much time off of Gary that we did. It was even more disappointing than when we only lost out on the podium by half a second. But we didn't actually expect to do that, because we didn't go in there on a mission to really do that. We wanted to go in and be quick, but we still didn't want to go off the road. We didn't leave it all hanging out just for that last stage, because the whole rally would have been thrown away. You know, fourth place still isn't you know, a disastrous result, but it's not bad considering that the car completely cut out and we had to stop and do the restart. It was a funny situation actually, because where it happened was it was on a straight. It was like a fourth into fifth gear straight, and there was a crowd of people on the left hand side, and they were like waving, you know, waving. And then I thought Keith had misunderstood these guys, that they were slowing him down because Keith had completely stopped the car in fourth gear. And I was like, what are you doing? Go. I was like, no, the car is gone. I was like, what do you mean it's gone? It's gone. So then I reckon that guy back the road was kind of like, oh shit. If we watch back the onboard after, and you see his hand kind of going, oh jeez. But yeah, you know, we could have easily just you know, stayed on the side of the road that time, but she fired up and got going again, so we just salvaged what we could, but it was disappointing.
And no real explanation. It cleared itself in the way you want it here?
Yeah, not at the moment. I'm not sure if they've figured out anything since, but I think a similar issue has happened to a few people in the Citroens. I'm not sure if it's something to do with a sensor or something like that, but yeah, it is a bit unnerving that it could happen at any time, but hopefully it won't happen this weekend.
Yeah, and like, well, you mentioned earlier, you know, like a kind of a half spin, and you had to get into reverse, you know, and like that was, you lost 10 seconds or whatever, but that's the difference between winning and losing the rally. Like, it's crazy now that you can't even have a half spin.
Yeah, it was frustrating. It was another one of the long stages, and we were having a really good run, and it was the last stage that, you know, we had to go in and open the road. So, and the gap was like, you know, only a couple of tenths of a second. So I wanted to try and manage that one to go into the last stage, you know, to have a bit of a fight for the win, obviously. And yeah, we're having a good stage and trying to be neat, but also, you know, push as much as we could. And it was right at the end. It was like a mile from the finish, and it was just a bus stop chicane, and came out over a crest, and I actually braked, you know, in good time, and probably too early, and I just went back on the power a little bit closer to the end, and any driver will know that feeling. It's the worst, and just rotated the car too much on the way in, and I was hoping that the back of the car was going to hit the bale and maybe flick me round, but it didn't, and I had to reverse and then drive around the chicane. So I think I was probably swearing for the last mile of the stage.
Poorly.
But yeah, one of those things, you know, that's just an error from me. Like I say, frustrating when you've done a good stage up until that point, and it's so close to the finish. But it is what it is. We just gotta learn from that and you know, take something away from it and try and not let that one happen again. But the gap was realistically probably too big to try and take all that time back, you know, in the last stage after the gaps all day were so small. But we gave it a go, and we had a nice run through the last one, and but yeah, it was just too big to try and get that back. And you know, I think even with, if we didn't have that spin, I'd say Romet would have taken a couple of seconds out of us on that stage, so it may have been a tall order going into the last one anyway, but who knows, it would have been nice to have that shot.
Yeah, and like you had said, like, too, about, you know, clearing the road and all too, like that being your first time on, you'll learn from that as well too. You know, the next time you'll be first on the road, it'll not be your first time doing it, and you'll be a wee bit more maybe tuned into what needs to be done?
Yeah, it was hard to know after the recce, with that sort of being my first time. Everybody talks about the cleaning effect, and nobody likes anybody whinging about it either. But it was definitely something that came into play at the weekend, and yeah, it's just, I guess if you're leading the championship, you open the road. That's and you always want to be leading the championship, so it's one of those things that if you get to do it often, it's a positive thing, really. But yeah, it's just until that track clears, you're sort of dancing with the car on top of the marbles, which is a really nice sensation, because you can really chuck the car about, and yeah, it's just not the most efficient, and trying to find that in between, sliding too much, but still trying to push and be neat. It's very easy to overdrive in those situations, which was maybe what I was doing coming into that last chicane. But yeah, just something we gotta learn how to cope with it, and like I said, it's a positive if you're always open on the road, really.
That's for sure. And like Mike, I suppose something else we should really touch on as well too is like, how great was it? For this wee island, we had second. One of the co-driver was third. Yourself and Keith fourth. Then in the Rally 4 category, a podium lockout. Won in the historics over there. It's absolutely just mind blowing for this wee country what we're achieving.
I know, it's incredible. Yeah, sometimes you don't stop to think about these kind of things because you're just rolling into the next thing. But that is an amazing stat. I actually didn't realize that, honestly. We're just very selfish, I guess, in our own little bubble at the moment when you're doing all these events. But that's amazing. Yeah. I mean, look back at Cardigan last year. There was a fair fight from the Irish coming through the top 10 there as well. So yeah, no, for sure we're able to do it.
Yeah, you're reaping the benefits of the academy, but it's the ripple effect that it's spreading beyond the academy even now at this stage.
Yeah, a bit like Mikie, I didn't actually realise, that list that you just read out. So that's pretty cool. And I know we were talking about opening the road there, but it's to be sitting behind the safety car, to head into the stage first. There's something pretty cool about that as well. Everybody standing on the side of the road, watching the double logo through, and then the first proper rally car, coming with the dust behind it. There's just a cool sensation about that as well. And obviously I had a nice clean visibility in front of me, which was the positive.
Yes.
The guys obviously had a bit of dust as well, which is never nice in such high speed stages. So it's thanks to the academy and all the other guys supporting me this year that we're back in the BRC, with the team, and we've had 2 good strong results to start the season, so hopefully we can continue like that, and a payback for everybody that supports us, and we just got to keep putting the work in between the events.
Yeah, and that iconic livery, the Castrol name on the Toyota car and all as well too. Like, that's just, you talk about, some of the, the epic things, that has to be up there too. That's for my generation. We think of Carlos Sainz, Diddy Oriol, all those guys. And you're going to be in that bracket now too, the Castrol Toyota guy.
Yeah, Castrol just looks right on any rally car, I think. Very lucky. The design turned out really well. It's a bit of a mix. It's like a mix-up between the academy and the Castrol logo, trying to put our own slant on it as well. But everybody seems to like it, which is good. But yeah, like you say, there's a lot of people that, family and stuff like that, and friends that don't know a lot about rallying, but whenever they saw Castrol on the side of my car, they think, God, you must be doing all right if you've got Castrol on the side of the car. So yeah, even your granny knows that brand, and it's a cool thing to be part of.
For sure. And Mikie, I suppose we'll start wrapping up with yourself then. The dust, as Wall mentioned there too, it did probably factor a wee bit in the morning time as well.
Yeah, it did in places. Like Will said there, like, we're not gonna whinge about it, but that's just the way it was at the weekend. First couple of miles in the first stage is a bit daunting, but just going back to when we were talking about pace notes, that's where they'll really kick in, is when visibility is bad and you're really trusting on it, which is can be unnerving, but you have to keep pushing through, because like we said before about the margins, if you're to back out of it and kind of stick with the dust and be safe, you're just you're a non-runner. So we were lucky that the notes were good and we could keep pushing through the dust, but it was a factor for a bit of the rally, but not the whole way through. So
and then you have the pleasure of doing it all again now this weekend, the Circuit Ireland coming up, back on Tar again, and it's relentless, this.
It is, yeah. We're kind of in silly season at the moment now, so yeah, literally, there's 2 rally suits hanging behind me. They're drying from the weekend. They're not hanging there just to be cool. They're airing to leave for tomorrow. I leave tomorrow afternoon to go to the circuit, and didn't come home till Sunday morning at about 3 a.m. and heading away now again. But we're just in the thick of the season. That's what happens when you're doing 2 championships. They're going to be back to back. It was the same last year. And like we were joking at the start, I said last year that we'd probably never do 2 championships back to back. And here we are. But it's all good. Look, we're living the dream. It's going, it's going rightly this year, and we should keep going while we can, because
I'll be the guy at the side of the road this weekend, Mikie, waving at you.
Yeah.
Just don't stop this time.
No, I think we're going to have to put some Castrol stickers on the car, I think.
And is it hard to hear other people getting all built up for the circuit and you're sitting at home?
You'd love to do every rally in the country if you could, but we all know it doesn't work that way. But I think it's going to be a good rally. I was saying there at the start, I think it's going to be tricky because it's been dry for so long now, and it looks like there's going to be some showers over Friday and Saturday, and that could just pull a bit of dirt out onto the road and could make the road quite greasy. So I think it'll be tricky, but it'll be a nice rally. The circuit, going rallying over the Easter holidays is always pretty nice. So hopefully the guys can have a good weekend.
Yeah, and your priority is the BRC this year. Do you see yourself maybe doing an event at home maybe before the year's out, or is it just kind of the sole focus at this stage is the BRC?
Yeah, it's we're always working on things behind the scenes. Would like to do more rallying than the BRC this year. So I am working on things. I'd love to do some rallies at home. Haven't done so much at home, with doing the WRC things the last couple of years. So yeah, you never know. The pace at home is really competitive, and we want to keep trying to bring ourselves on. So it would be a good place to compete. We know how good it is, but to be honest, I'm not sure yet. I just got to keep trying to work on some things and see what comes of it.
Watch this space. So continue now with our BRC chat. Joe, you've been a long time supporter now of the British Rally Championship, and you got your first one at the weekend. What a run you had!
I had a good run, Kevin. Surely, I suppose we've been going over there on and off now for the past couple of years, and obviously with the Stellantis Cup going over there, we kind of knew we had to have a good run for that after West Cork. So we went over and just, as I said, kind of started the rally with no big goal in mind, I suppose, or nothing, just to go in and see how we'd go. And yeah, it just seemed to click for us, and everything worked well. We definitely had a good run there, over the moon with us.
Yeah, because fastest right from the get go, and daunting stages, when you think of Kielder, you think of the star names, the past, the WRC stars doing them stages. Can you see why they have that reputation?
Definitely. There's some stages now that they're like nowhere else you'd go in England, or they're like you can see why the name Kielder comes into it as well. Some of the rocks and stuff that are pulled out in places, and the big ditches, and you had to be careful on them too. But the speed you can carry on, some of the stages, the speed is mental on them. So yeah, we made a good set of notes, and we just committed to them, and yeah, I think that had a big part to play in it as well.
And James, your second time in gravel now, and what can we say? A fantastic run you had there on Saturday.
Oh, it was brilliant. Thanks for Joe for asking me. But there was some experience over there. It's my first rally outside Ireland, and second time in gravel. It was nice to go and win it then. And it was unbelievable day. The stages were mental. so fast and just really, really good. Like,
and like the two youth boys, neighbours, grew up together, to go away rallying together, and then to go and win together. That must be a pretty special day. That.
It was, like, to be fair, it's nothing you'd ever think about whenever you were younger, really. Like, if you're going away over to Scotland, the borders, like, to rally, like, you would have never dreamed of it anyway, like. But it was great, like, for both of us, really.
Yeah, and like that's your second time in a Rally 4 car. Like, and you spent a lot of time in the Civic and all. Are they a completely different animal?
They're totally different, like, but I suppose me and Jordan never got the Civic onto gravel, but like, the Rally 4 is unbelievable, like the speed they can carry in the gravel, and like there's a couple of times you might think you're heading for the ditch, but it's just like they just come around the corners like so well. They handle unbelievable, like, and the speed you can carry is just, they're unreal, like, to be honest, for any young driver, like. So.
And Joe, like, I say, we spoke before, like the way that the two weight is progressing, still being developed, and the speed is getting more and more. And from your point of view as well too, you're developing as a driver and getting more out of it.
I definitely, I suppose now I'm in the 208 3 or 4 years now nearly, and it's probably at the start was slow to get onto it. But yeah, as you say too, it's been developed all the time, and thanks to Racing Rally there as well, who's a good customer support program, and DGM, Marcus, my engineer, and Jeff, who comes with us, they look after the car as well to an unbelievable standard. Like, for us to go rallying in such a good car, it's a big part of what makes it possible for us too. Like,
because you can step into that car knowing that it's prepared to the last. That if you can get the best out of it, you will get good results.
Oh, exactly, yeah. And even a lot of it too, we had a short test before last week and just trying different things with it, and small wee changes we made before the rally probably did help a wee bit as well. But no, just really happy now. Yeah, really happy with the car.
And have you done anything different? Have you changed your fitness regime, or is there anything that's helped you to unlock it, or is it, as you say, just lots of wee small things just making a difference?
No, probably lots of wee smaller things, I suppose, that are making a difference. We're putting a good bit of work into the notes and stuff as well. The night before the rally, we weren't in bed too early. We were up watching the DVD and stuff like that. No, just a really good recce and everything as well. And no, just small wee things like that just putting that wee bit more effort in.
You
just reap the rewards of it then,
Yeah, and them being such long stages as well too, and the weather at the weekend was fantastic as well. Like, does that take a lot out of you? The long stages, that heat and all them too, and did you encounter dust as well along the way?
The dust. It was kind of funny. The dust was a problem in some parts of the stages, and in others it wasn't. It just kind of nearly depended on the surface, And there was a couple of surface changes in the middle of the stage. You get dust, and then the next part you wouldn't. But no, it wasn't too much of an issue for us, in fairness. But the heat, it was quite warm and everything as well, I suppose. But no, you didn't mind any of them things with the stages they had over there. Like, it was top notch stuff. Like.
And like, James, for yourself, like, competing in them stages, 12, 13 mile of a stage on gravel, doesn't get much better than that, really, does it?
No, it definitely didn't. No, it was tough going, I suppose, at times. Like, they're fast and corner after corner, and it was tough going now, to be fair, at times, but I really enjoyed it now. The experience was unbelievable. Like, to do them long stages was good for myself too, just to bring myself on a wee bit more, and it was really good now.
And like, with only being 5 stages, you think, 5 stages, that's a handy wee day, but it was anything but that. Like, it was, them long stages do, it's continuous, it's hard work. It
was, surely, like, but sure, you'd only one stage that was repeated, it was 4 different stages then, like, and it's a lot of remembering in them too, but it was good that there was only one of them repeated. I think it was a good way to run that rally, like, so you could see the difference in the one that was repeated, the ruts, and how rough it was the second time. You could see why they only did run them once, like,
Yeah. And then the Stellantis Cup. We said before that how good an opportunity it is when we see the likes of Jon Lloyd now and competing in the ERC done in the first round there a few weeks ago. Like his times, always in sort of around the top 5, and that. Like if you do well in the Stellantis Cup, you can go anywhere.
Yeah, it's a good championship now, to be fair, and you can see Jon had a good run out in Spain there a couple of weeks ago, and hopefully he can continue for the rest of the year, because he's an unbelievable driver. He deserves to go as far as he can in that championship. Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. The competition's brilliant in it, and the fact too that we're all in the same tyres, we're all in the same car. It brings everybody on, I think, and it's a credit to the guys running it, to be fair.
Yeah, and I like the thing about it as well too. It's the mixed surface. You have to be good on tar and on gravel both.
Exactly, and they're all good rallies. We're going to, there's not too many wee championships like that can go to a European Championship round in September, and they also have Donegal and Killarney and some of the best gravel stages then as well in the UK. Like it's a brilliant wee championship.
Yeah, because as you say, it's the cream of Irish rally and the cream of British rally, and then you get around to the European Championship through in as well.
Exactly, there's a lot of variety in it, so it's very, very good. It's very, very good.
And the Ceredigion, did you do Ceredigion last year?
No, I didn't. I didn't go over last year. I done it a number 22. I think I done it. It was a BRC round that time, but it's one between one thing and another last year. I just didn't go over, but I kind of kicking myself whenever I've seen it on that I should have went over. But no, this year definitely is on the cards.
Because it looks a phenomenal event, and it's really seemed to have set the standard. The ERC guys were all raving about it as well.
Exactly. Yeah. No, so just want to look. There's a few more to go now before that.
But I suppose the next round then is closer to home for you. Maybe not a lot closer. Killarney, it's a rally you have a bit of experience with before as well too. Some epic stages down that part of the world as well.
They're fantastic. I love going down to Killarney. It's some place to go rallying too. There's some of the stages are fantastic. A good bit of experience down there now at this stage as well, so hopefully that'll stand to me as well.
Mm-hmm. And as for the Stellantis Cup, is that kind of where you see the focus lying this year?
The focus probably is with the Stellantis Cup, but with the fact that I think it's 4 rounds remaining now in the British Championship, and the Stellantis Cup goes to 3 of them. Okay. We're probably silly not to go to the one outstanding rally, which is the Jim Clark between Killarney and Donegal. So I think that's the plan at the minute.
Excellent. And Jim Clark, another name just the minute memories that pop into your head. We see Andrew Nesbitt, we see Darren Gass. They got such epic stages over there, and they always seems to be on a great event. Eugene Donnelly and the Corolla. The story could just go on and on.
You could go on forever with that kind of stuff.
That's for sure.
No, it's actually a rally I've never been to or never done. So no, it's one I'll be looking forward to. I'll be honest, it wasn't on the cards at all until Saturday evening, until we came out of there with the result we got. So that's the plan at the minute. But no, the full focus will probably be with. It'll be at the minute with Killarney and the Stellantis Cup. Mm-hmm.
And the last time we spoke, I get the blame for you going to 5 Mile Town, so I don't get
the blame. That's right. Don't talk me into spending more money, is he?
But you're equally as happy on gravel as tar at this stage, Joe.
I am, to be fair. Actually, 5 Mile Town last year was my first gravel rally in the 208, and after Donegal last year, we kind of decided to take a different approach to things and maybe concentrate on the gravel a wee bit. Done 3 or 4 rallies at the end of the year, and done a wee bit of work over the winter there on loose surfaces. So no, I think it's standing to me now, and I'm definitely feeling an awful lot more confident on gravel. Just the car moving about that bit more and stuff with less stability, obviously, than tarmac. It doesn't seem to bother me anymore. So yeah, I'm loving the gravel at the minute. Yeah. But as well, going to Killarney and on them tarmac stages as well is class.
Yeah, I think as James was saying, there's at times he thought the car was gone, but it's having that confidence to wring the neck off the car and trusting its ability to bring you back as well.
Exactly. Yeah, no, they're a phenomenal wee piece of kit on gravel as well. It actually blew me away the first time I tried it on gravel. I thought it was nearly a 4-wheel drive car we were in. Just the way it handled, and it felt so good. No, definitely enjoyable on gravel now as well.
Yeah. And the pace is unbelievable as well too. When you look at the weekend, like you were mixing it there with the top historic guys. I think were you second 2-wheel drive overall as well?
That's right. Yeah, second 2-wheel drive over there behind David Crossan. Historic. So some of them British historic guys are going really hard over there. So.
That's the phenomenal. The pace them guys is that too.
It's serious.
So they're mixing it with them. You're here. It's always a good day.
I was happy enough.
And Joe, I suppose, like before we finish up, one thing that's vital and important is, we all need the sponsors on board as well, and you have some really strong people there behind you as well.
A lot of good people behind us, Kevin. Yeah, there's it obviously wouldn't be possible without them, and especially two big thanks has to go to my own father and to Brendan without my uncle Brendan. Without them, it just wouldn't be possible for me. And the support they give me and the help they give me is unbelievable. And a lot of good people then behind me as well, Kevin Barrett and Creighton Showers, and obviously the guys in DGM, Davy Gray Motorsport as well. The help them guys give me is unbelievable. And there's a good few names there in the car, Downings Bay Hotel and Efficient Renewables there in Newton Cunningham. A lot of people there to support me. So yeah, big thanks to them.
Aye, and they're obviously getting a good payback from you because they've been on the name now. The name has been on the car for a few years, so they're getting the benefit of this now as well.
Exactly. Hopefully everybody's enjoying. Everybody on the car is enjoying now, seeing the hard work pay off. So yeah, hopefully it can continue into the future. That's the plan. So
thanks to all the lads there. An absolute pleasure catching up with them all. And yeah, Joe, once again, delighted for you taking the one there at the weekend. So this weekend coming up then, Circuit of Ireland, I got a chance to speak to Event Director Graeme Stewart about, just to give us a kind of wee bit of an overview of the event now. And I think it is going to be a great couple of days at Rally. Maybe not, the big epic stages or the big epic event that we were maybe used to a few years ago, but unfortunately that ship has sailed now for the foreseeable future. Like there's no way any club in the country could run a 5-day rally now at the moment. But 2 days, it's going to be a tough 2 days there. So, and what an entry! It is going to be. There's going to be no room for error. We listened to the guys earlier saying that they're at 99, 100% the whole time now, and that's going to take maximum concentration to keep that up for for that length of time too. So, going to be very interesting. So let's hear from Graeme. So it's Easter time, and always that means traditionally here in Ireland is the Circuit Ireland. And Graeme, what an event you guys have put in store for us this weekend.
Well, yeah, thanks again, Kevin, for having us on. I mean, yet again, we're trying to move it forward a wee bit. We've ran the last couple of years as a one-day event, and we're moving into the second day towards, yet again, it's a manpower thing. We would love to run 2 full days, we'd love to run 3 full days, but as I say, it's getting the stages we can get. We think we've no problem getting stages and great stages, classic stages. But getting manpower is the problem. There's not many events in the calendar. Everybody, it's just pulling from the same team of people. And we're just so lucky that we have got a great crew, great organisers, and people are pulling the marshals in. And we're so grateful that the marshals come back every year to help and support us on the stages, and timekeepers, recovery. I mean, the list goes on, medics, and the actual organising team themselves. So we're very grateful and thankful to have all of those. But yes, I'd say we've got a couple of stages on the Friday afternoon, and then a full 9 stages on the the Saturday. All good stages, great surface, nothing too ropey or too scary in there. But yeah, come Saturday tea time, you'll have done a rally like.
Yeah, because I know from last year, like the drivers, it was a 1-day event, but they said it was a really good challenging day and a lot there to keep both sides of the car busy, driver and co-driver.
Well, that's it. Yeah, we had I met a few drivers on recce yesterday, and a couple of them there for the first time this year come to do the event, and they were commenting on part of the stage is really fast and flow, and then all the stages have a mixture of fast flowing and tight technical. And you'll have done a day's rally and come Saturday tea time. It's 3 laps of 3 stages in the Saturday, and they're all 9-mile stages. So yet again, they're good. I mean, yeah, it'd be interesting to see who comes out on top.
Yeah, and the poor historics have no power steering. They'll definitely know they've done a day's rally.
As I say, this year we've tried something. This year turns out to be the 50th anniversary of the launch of the Mark II Escort. So just to a wee nod to the Mark IIs, we've got the Brown and Brown Mark II Challenge, and that's for all Mark IIs, historic and modified, and we're not splitting down greatly, just you have modified Mark II men and the historic, and whoever comes out on top will get a prize on each side, but just to give them a bit of a shout out and the notoriety to them.
Because what a car, the way it's still as popular today as it was 50 years ago, and I think for another 50 years too, the way things are going.
I mean, yeah, I said there's nothing. I mean, it's good at the R5s, and everybody loves watching the pace that the top men are on, and it's a fantastic pace. But yet again, you ask anybody in Ireland that knows anything about motorsport, they'll all come back to the same thing. I marshalled on the circuit, or I did this on the circuit at one point, or I used to go and stand in the back. And unfortunately, it's not the 5 days, and it never ever will be. But to bring it as much as we can back to it and get the Mark II men, it's good to see a bit of the odd Avenger and Sunbeam and a bit of a variety out there on the stage. It's great to watch,
Yeah. And the competitors have really rolled in behind you this year. A capacity entry there for you as well come the weekend.
Very much so. We're half expecting that the rallies are running around us would have hurt the entries nearly significantly to the point whether we were going to be feasible to run. But we've been so lucky with the level of support we've got from the competitors, length and breadth of the country, across the water, etc. Matt Edwards coming back to try and get 2 in a row sort of thing. There's no reason why he can't, but there will be hard charging men behind him that'll make him sit up and think a bit maybe. But yeah, we're so lucky, and I think it's the nature of the event. We're trying to make it competitor friendly. Everybody gets treated the same. Everybody in the service area gets the same space. Everybody, nobody's differentiated from car number 1 to car number 107. And I say with the micros tagging on this year too, we're very grateful to have the micro challenge joining us on the Saturday for the Lipsa stages, and yet again they'll be great to watch. There's some competition between those guys too.
Yeah, and Dungannon is such a centralised area too. It's so easy access from anywhere in the country with the motorway network and one thing and another. It's just probably the ideal location.
Well, it's a perfect location for us. We're very fortunate that the residents on the stages, because it's traditionally rally country as such. The support that we get from the residents on the stages is fantastic, and it only takes you out. Fortunately, I'm out in the safety car again this year, and last year to see the amount of people barbecuing and marquees up in their gardens and generally just welcomed us in, and it's the level of support's fantastic. We can't thank the residents enough for letting us in to play in their territory.
Because especially on the Saturday, it means them not able to leave their house for a large portion of the day, and to have that support, because we know there's a good few of the competitors living on the stages or close to the stages, and obviously they're spreading the goodwill out there.
Well, yet again, it's having the rally men on our side too, who living on the stages and local. It's definitely worked to Mr. Kelly in there and Mr. Jardine to I just noticed on the stages his old primary school that Alan Jardine went to is up for sale. I'm just curious in case he buys that so he can actually live on the stage. But as I say, it's great. I mean, it's just rally country, and all the stages are so accessible off the main drag there as such, so it makes spectating easy, good access to the stages, and we're very fortunate that the stages have great access for the spectators too. So we're just very fortunate to be where we are this year again.
Yeah. And again, I suppose, when you're talking about good access to the stages, the people that make the whole thing, tick along as well too, is the marshals, and we have to give them a shout out as well.
Well, obviously, as I said at the start, we all draw from the same pot of marshals, and I know it's hard to get. It's so time constrained. They're out every weekend. If they're not helping us, they're in sprints or in hill climbs. It's not just the rally marshals that we need to rely on, but it's great to see so many coming out. But always could do with more. So if there's any out there, please give us a shout via the Facebook, etc. All help is greatly appreciated and welcomed, and we'll look after you where we can. But yes, we can't run this sport without the help of the volunteers behind us pushing the event forward, and then the spectators too that come out, and they will obey. We've found recently, the spectators are very good, very well behaved, and listen to the marshals and stuff. So we're very, very fortunate.
Yeah, because there's been a lot of very positive messages being put out there, through social media from, not just from the organisers of the event, but from the governing bodies, both, north, south, and across in the UK and all. And that is making people and, people going to rallies more aware of what can happen.
Well, absolutely, and I'd say we're getting a lot of younger people coming back into the sport again, at least to spectate. And I think the R5s and the likes of the Moffats and stuff, we're bringing the younger crowds in with them, and there's certainly, we're starting to get the characters built up again. Gone are the days of the Andrew Nesbitt's, the great characters of the sport that we had. I think we're starting to turn a corner and we're getting good characters back in, and that's going to bring the following out on the stages. We're just pushing forward for a good, safe event, and I say we're very fortunate that the marshals have the support of the spectators now.
That's for sure. And then I suppose anybody going along at the weekend, obviously, obey the marshals and all that. There's not going to be a physical programme, but it's all going to be there online for people as well.
Yeah, what we've decided again this year is, yet again, the time it takes to produce a programme, etc., and then distribute it. We thought it would, rather than constrict everybody, we put it online. It'll be on Sport Today, and there'll be a password. We'll get that on the Facebook page very soon. And then you just download the program. It has all the stages, the access, the timings, and the entry list, etc. So you just download it on your phone. There's not even a need for a hard copy.
Yeah. And then obviously action kicks off Friday. 2 short, sharp stages to get the blood pumping, and then into 9 tough stages on the Saturday.
Yeah, we're running 2 stages on the Friday afternoon, early evening, all in the daylight. And then Saturday morning kicks off, and we have the 3 stages repeated 3 times, and they're good. Yet again, as I say, some fast flowing parts in them, some tight technical, a couple of good jumps in there to keep the photographers happy. But it's a challenging enough event. As I say, the plan obviously is to stretch it out longer, so we have 2 full days rallying, and I think the appetites are for to say it's just, but we're very, we've started off with a small team back in 2018 when we started to run this again, and we're building, and we're getting we have a fantastic organising team on board, and I say yet again, all volunteers. We give up so much time throughout the year, and we're building that to hopefully get enough manpower. We'll get an extra couple more stages on the Friday, so we'll have 2 full days of rallying.
Yeah,
so it's
probably is better to take the small baby steps and trying to do big steps and maybe tripping up. This way, you just can do it at your own pace.
Well, as I said, the entries themselves, I think, show that we're doing something right. We've built on this, and the entries are getting stronger and stronger, and the quality of entries are there every year. And we get to see the same faces coming back supporting us. And I mean, boys who aren't involved in any championships as such just seem to enjoy the event, the crack throughout the weekend, and everybody, as I say, come back to everybody's treated the same. We don't differentiate it from car 1 to car 107. Everybody comes along, we enjoy the fun, the crack. And I say we just try to get a good event.
Yeah. Well, Graeme, I only would wish you the very best of luck this weekend, and we'll catch up soon.
Yep, fingers crossed. And you might need your brollies, but let's hope that doesn't put us all off. Kevin, thanks for your time.
Thanks very much there to Graeme. And so that is the latest episode for the 2025 season. I forgot to mention at the start, can you please like, share, rate, subscribe? Always make a huge difference, and it really does. So thanks once again for taking the time to listen. Until next time. Take care, speak soon, and bye.
That's the proudest day, and the proudest time, and the seat of a rally car, because that day, and that hour, and those minutes, I got the bit between my teeth. I really stood up and was counted and said, this is not getting away. I remember when we pulled on our helmets and Donald says to me, what are we doing? I said, we're going for gold, Barrett. That's all we said. I can still picture that run. It was just the best run ever.